What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I have another HD whoop here for you today. Another Cinewhoop is in the house. I'm super excited because URAV makes things that are very affordable out there versus some of the other ones. I would say that the HD version of this one is probably somewhere in the realm of the Beta 85X, about $10 cheaper, so it's very close to the price of an 85X. So let's find out in this review if this quad can hold up to something else that performs well for me on 2 and 3S, and this is another 85mm frame with a Caddx Turtle V2 on board, turbo lens, and all the bells and whistles for a little bit cheaper price. But is that cheaper price going to be worth it for you? That's what I'm going to test for this quad. We're going to talk about it more after the break. I'm going to do a little bit of FPV flying with it, and I'm going to show you what this Caddx Turtle V2 camera looks like. And I'm also going to test out the stock battery that came with it. This is the URUAV HV version of a 3S 300 milliamp HV, which is super great. I'm glad it's HV. It's making it a little more punchy out there, and it charges up for a little bit longer flight time. And flight times were also great, by the way. And these are the old school King Kong props. When I pulled these out of the box, I was interested because I was thinking, I'm wondering why they chose like a 2836 type prop for this particular quad, and some older style props with a little bit of a bull nose on the edge. So I wasn't really expecting a lot of smooth video out of this prop, but I did compare them to some of my favorite Gemfan Hulkies, and we'll see how those pan out. These are the 1936 Gemfan Hulkies that I've used on tons of my Diatone HD reviews, on the 249 HD and some of the other ones. They always resulted in great video, but we'll see how these two props compare and the different battery configurations as far as the least amount of jello possible on the Bushido. So let's go outside and we'll do a little flying. I'll show you this quad on both the style props and a bunch of different batteries. Two S450s are going to be what you want to fly on this, and also 3S450. Or you can fly 300, which would give you a little bit more maneuverability for freestyle. Let's go outside and do some flying. Alright guys, let's go ahead and take off with the 3S stock HV battery. That is the 3S 300 milliamp battery. And right now I'm recording in the Caddx Turtle. This is what you're seeing, the Caddx Turtle. The VTX did quite well, but what I'm really interested to show you is my progress with this quad, starting out with the props that came along with it in the box. These are the King Kong props, tri-props, and I believe they're around 2036 size. And I've flown these props on several different quads in the past, maybe even like 2 years ago. So these props have been around for quite a long time. They are not the most durable props in the world. However, the nice thing is that the video looks almost jello free right here until I go up really high. When you go up really high, that's where you can start to see a lot of the jello. So a lot of times when I'm showing you guys Cinewhoops, I'm going to fly up high like this and see if we see any horizontal vibrations left and right. If you see any horizontal jitter, that would be called jello for some guys that don't know about that. But you can see the prop guards here also, by the way. You can tilt the camera up and you won't see any prop guards in this setup. So guys that are not wanting to see prop guards and you're only wanting to see the video in front of the quad, you can do that. I also noticed that there is a little bit of fisheye in this lens once you get up. It's sort of like a GoPro. It's kind of bends the horizon in front of us. So guys that don't like that, you can filter that out in your editors. There are plugins that do that. And you'll see that little bit of fisheye going up when I get to the very top up there, the apex. But down low, everything looks really good. And a lot of times I like to fly close and lower to the grass, because down low to the ground is where you can really see the nice resolution of a camera. You can see the individual blades of grass when I come around. And it's definitely not on par with something like 4K, obviously, but you can have a lot of fun making videos with these little quads. Especially if you decide to put some crossfire on it and fly it out in the mountains, you can get some amazing footage. Or if you wanted to just take this little guy on vacation somewhere with you, you can pack this in just about any bag you own. You could carry it on an airplane. And look at that. It has a pretty decent color on the Caddx Turtle V2, which I really like a lot. My wild shirt shows up really nice. Tried to land on the table right here, missed it, fell down. Alright, let's go for another battery here. Still using those stock King Kong props, and I have another 3S Happy model. 300 milliamp battery in here this time, and I'm testing out that battery. And it looks pretty good up here. I'm impressed with the King Kong props on a Cinewhoop, because I've never flown the King Kong props on a Cinewhoop. I think they kind of cheaped out a little bit, giving you those props for this particular quad. They could have gave you some of the newer Gem Fan props, like around the 1630 size or the 2036 size new Gem Fans. But these are not producing a lot of jello, and I'm gonna try my favorites coming up here. We're gonna go to a different location, and today was like the perfect day to fly. Zero wind out there in the field, perfect sun, so I knew the camera was gonna look great, and I was surprised that it had the least amount of jello that I've seen in some of the most recent Cinewhoop testing. So this looks pretty good here, and it does handle the transition from dark to light fairly quick. There's my friend on the ground right there, and now we're at that new location, and now we're trying out the 1936 Gem Fan Hulkies. I do like those a lot. And how gorgeous is the color on this camera. There's that little bit of vibration at the apex right there as I'm coming up to the top, and that is a lot due to the wind that we had today, and I'm fighting the wind a lot during these batteries. Even on that 3S battery, I'm really fighting the wind, and I don't know if it is my Hulkies on board or it's just the wind that the flight controller and the prop guard combo is kind of fighting out each other, and that will result in jello in your camera. But that's actually looking pretty good right there. It does get worse as the day goes on, because out in the Columbia River Gorge, well, the wind comes up a lot at the end of the day. So the best thing to do if the wind comes up is fly closer to the ground and stay below the tree line. You'll just have a much better looking video. And the higher I go, the more stutter and jello you'll see. And jello is that horizontal vibration that you'll see in the camera. Sometimes you see it with acceleration, and sometimes you see it when you let off the throttle. Coming back around, it handles a split S over a tree really well. I have plenty of control low to the ground, and this quad feels good on the sticks. I feel like I could actually handle this if I flew it every day for a lot of batteries. I could get really good at this quad. I was taking some chances with it already, and right there, caught the top of that tree. I didn't think I was getting it back, but luckily I did get it back. It fell to the ground, thank God. So I'm super stoked about this quad, the way it's flying, and really happy that I got it back. So I'm amazed at the performance, the handling, the throttle punch out on it feels good. Very nice low to the ground like this. The Crazy Bee F4 is doing quite well for me. Haven't had a lot of issues with it in the past 6 months. Some people have had some issues with the F3s burning out. And this is the 2.0 version of this board, so it is the newer version on here. And coming back up and back down and around. Gonna do a little orbit around myself here, watching out for that guy, of course. And this is the neatest thing. I came around this wall right here to this sculpture, and this sculpture almost goes transparent when we come around it. Look at the sheer layers of steel. That man almost disappears right there. And there's Diego on the board, so let's chase Diego for a minute on the electric skateboard. Really cool shot. We got some really cool shots coming up here. We decided to do get together and do a little bit of filming with this quad and the electric skateboard. And the cool thing about these lighter quads like this is that they're very non-threatening to people when you're out in public places like this. No one cares, because it's virtually a toy, and as long as you don't hit somebody, of course. But they are so light that you're not going to send anybody to the hospital. They're just going to get a little bit annoyed and ask you to leave, which you should do if you hit somebody. So he was trying to get a run set up down this path right here, and I'm going to follow him once he gets back up to the top of the path. We're going to take a run around this path, and we'll see how many times we can make it around. This was so cool right here. Look at that jitter. My props are thrashed at this point. Check out how hard the trees are blowing around. There is even a lot of wind at the ground level at this point, so I'm getting washed out a lot. Right now there's a ton of jitter. I probably have one prop bent on here, is most likely why I'm getting this hardcore jitter. But I'm coming back up and around, and who cares? I'm just going to follow Diego on the board and we're going to get in nice, tight, and close to that board. And we talked about this quad too, that it's so light and it has prop guards on it. Both of us knew that it wouldn't hurt him if it hit him in the legs or in the arm, or even, you know, if it hit you in the top of the head. It's not going to really hurt that bad, because those props are not going to eat you up, as long as they don't get you in the hair. If you have long hair, stay away from those props. You'll have your hair all twisted inside those prop guards. But this is so cool because I could get right in there, like a foot off the ground. Isn't that a cool shot right there? I mean, I feel like some of this is actually usable for like companies if they wanted to do some kind of filming, downhill skateboarding, or any type of filming like that with a mountain bike. Your buddies aren't going to be worried about this quad behind you. And stick with those original King Kong props. Fly it on a date and chase somebody on a mountain bike, motorcycle. It would be really cool on a motorcycle. So all kinds of ideas kind of pop in my head when I see video like this. Especially if we can get this AT electric board out on a trail, like on a bike trail. That would be a lot of fun. And just zooming right past him there. He almost ran over the board, and pretty fun. That's really a lot of fun. And Diego did some good riding here with flip-flops. He's hanging in there. It does get quite slippery on that board through some of the grass and gravel, so he's hanging in there and not falling down. It's a lot of stress on your feet, but he did really good through here. And I think I did pretty good too, avoiding some of those little ghost branches still left. There's a lot of pieces of grass and stuff hanging around. Back up and around. Came a little bit too close there for both of our comfort, but I was able to power out of it and get out of the way. But there, he's off the board. Nice riding, Diego. Good job, dude. Alright guys, welcome back from the break. You know, I think the URUAV stuff is fairly affordable, and the little micro whoops that they came out with, I believe, late last year in 2018 were super popular with a lot of people. They were sort of indoor, outdoor little brushless micros, and this is cool because they do offer two versions of this one. They offer the HD version like I have here, and the non-HD version. So you can get the non-HD version of this for around, I believe it's around $100 if you wanted a nice little freestyle quad and just be able to record your videos to your goggles. But if you want full HD 1080p, you want to go for this one, and it is around the $150 price range for this one. But nice value because you do get a nice case with it, unlike my 85X didn't come with a cool case. Has a zipper around the side, has a little props pouch here, which is cool. You get all this extra stuff in here. You get your Caddx cable for going into your OSD and menu board. You get some extra props, which I think is great. You get two different sets of props, and you get a decent manual. I've seen these types of manuals before from Banggood, and they do actually work quite well for each different procedure that you need to get to, as far as your flight controller schematic, plug and play motors on here. This is basically a no solder setup here on this quad. Only thing I did not like, and I can report really quickly in this review, is the fact that my battery cage on the bottom of it broke on about my third battery. So the first one broke, and then the second one broke, and then I had a dangler. So it's never good to have a dangler while you're flying. So I put the RDQ mini strap on there with a couple zip ties, and that got me through the rest of my flying. But kind of sad, but you will have to bind this up in D8 mode. It is a built-in receiver on here. You can also get the version with no receiver and just add your own XM Plus or Crossfire, which is probably what I would do for some HD cinema recording. You can see that SPI FrSky antenna comes out right here, and I did have a failsafe one time with this because I flew more than a couple football fields, and if you want to fly further than that, I suggest getting the no receiver version and soldering up your own receiver. But if you look on the very bottom of this quad, right on the bottom, let's see if I can show you, the white button on the right, that is your bind button. And the way you bind this up is you're going to turn on your transmitter, start it beeping for the bind mode in D8, and plug in a battery, and then you're going to press this button momentarily. You'll see it start flashing red and then go to solid, and then you should be bound up and good to go. And if you want to do the strap option, that's the best way to do it here. 2 zip ties on the outside, and then just run your strap around like this for your larger size batteries, because it wouldn't accommodate any of my fatter style 450 batteries. These are 452S. This is the skinny one with a little bit of Velcro. It did fit through the battery cradle, but it ended up snapping off. So not the greatest on the thin parts of this frame. I might say that this frame might be a little less durable than the 85X frame, but none of the larger parts of the frame broke, which is really good news for you guys that are buying these. And also in the box, you do get another cable in here, and this is cool because not only do you get extra props and a mini screwdriver, and here is that micro strap that you can put through there, which is great. They give you a strap. I didn't use that strap because I like to use these buckle style straps. You get a prop tool remover, and you get this awesome little cable in here as well, and this plugs in right here and allows you to use your other 2.0 connector style batteries, and you can run it on 2S like this. And if you had a little dongle on the end, you might even be able to run this on 1S because it is using 1102 motors, but honestly I would probably stick to 2S and 3S on this quad. But it is cool that they give you this little converter cable so that you can have the option to fly your other Whoop batteries. Now we do have some pretty decent specs. I was very happy that it came with the 3S battery, and that's what I like to primarily fly this quad on 3S. Even though it is sort of a cinema whoop, and if you really want to record cinema type stuff, you need to lower your camera angle, probably fly it on 2S for a little bit smoother video. And in my flying, the better prop of choice was the original white King Kong props that come with this. Those were just way better than my 1936 Gym Fan Hulky props, which is kind of interesting to me because I've had very good luck in the past with these, but the day I was flying it, it was also super windy in the gorge, the Columbia Gorge where I was flying. So if you're not flying this somewhere where you have a 15-mile-an-hour wind or more, you're probably not going to get jittery jello video like I got out in the gorge. If you're flying this somewhere on a normal day in a park where there's not a lot of wind, I think you could probably switch up the props to some Hulkies and be just fine with your jello on your Caddx turtle. But under here you have everything hidden well here, which is really nice. You have an okay amount of camera protection here. There's a little bit up top here, just above that ridge. If you tilt it all the way up, you still have a little bit of plastic above that turbo lens. And if you come down, you have something above it, but below it, not a lot of protection down there. So you are susceptible to probably breaking your lens in a frontal crash like most quads. But you have 4 bolts that hold on this top plate, and once you pull this off, and it has Bushido on the very back, I think that's really cool. You pull these 4 bolts off here and you can get to your VTX. Now one thing that kind of troubled me about this VTX is the fact that it is one of the UFL connectors on the antenna. The dipole at the back right here, it's going to need a little bit of hot glue, and I have a hot glue gun that works in the field. I'll try to put a link down below for one of those for you guys. Whenever you get out to the field, you never know what to expect with new quads, so I usually do keep a hot glue gun in my toolbox just in case. Runs off a little 3S battery. Any type of 3S battery will power that thing. It's really awesome. So once I got that glued down, it wasn't falling off, and it was not a big problem once I got it hot glued on there. And I put a liberal amount of hot glue on it. Just put hot glue on it from all sides, and that way it's not going to come off in a crash or if you bump it, because if you bump this, it will fall off the VTX, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But the nice thing about this VTX, it will do 200 milliwatt and 8 channels, and it also has TBS smart audio on there, so you can go and change your channels and bands from your remote sticks, which is very nice. And what I really like about this quad is the fact that pretty much everything on this quad is plug and play. No, this is a no solder quad, so your receiver's built in. You have the bind button on the bottom like I showed you before. You have plug and play motors, color coded, and it is set up to be a right turn rear type quad. So it's not props out, it's props in configuration on this particular quad. And I felt like the jello aspect of this quad was actually pretty decent. I didn't have a lot of jello, like I said, on the 3S or a 2S battery with the standard props. And normally you have some wobble. We have some washout, what we call washout, in the really hard turns. and I'm happy to report that this one didn't have a lot of washout or lumber in those really hard turns. So I did freestyle this one a lot, and it still performed pretty decent on that windy day that I flew it. But right here you have your Caddx turtle. Some of you guys may have never seen this before, but these things are sweet. They do add quite a bit more weight, but since it is only one layer here, they only raised it up one stack, and they do have it dampened. There is rubber grommets just below these connectors that stick out for your top mount. You have your SD card slot there. I believe you can use up to about 128 gigabyte SD card. I did test that and it does work. I believe the specs actually say 64, but I was able to record video to a 128 gigabyte. So that's good news for you guys. Make sure you use like a class 10 or better on your SD card. Also, it's a little bit hard to get to the start and stop button on this. You can set this to start recording as soon as you plug it in. And let me see if I can find the start and stop button. It was kind of underneath this front wire right here. There it is. Right there is your start and stop button, and you'll see it on the top of your screen. It'll show that it's recording in your DVR, and then you can go ahead and take off and record your video. And we also have the Crazy Bee F4 version 2. You can see version 2.0 right there. So this is the newer board, and you can tell it's the newer board because it does have both of these buttons here. It has the boot button on the left here and your bind button for D8 mode. If you go into Betaflight CLI, you can change the command prompt to make it active for D16. It's just going to give you a little bit better resolution, a little faster control than D8. And the range, I gotta say, the range on this little SPI antenna coming off the bottom here, just kind of hanging out there, and the battery's a little bit in the way sometimes. You can't really run it up top because it's probably just going to be a better position at the bottom, even though you barely get clearance from it from the battery. This is going to be the better spot because it's not going to get eat up by the prop. So the antenna doesn't really have a home, which is I'm not a big fan of that. I like to be able to bring it up out the top with a full size antenna, like an XM Plus type antenna. So I think the without receiver version would be the better choice, honestly. But I do like, again, that everything is plug and play here. We've got 5 amp D-Shot ESCs, and you can also set it up to beep inside Betaflight. You can set up the beacon prompt on the configuration page, which is super awesome. So activate that. It's running D-Shot 600, and that buzzer is ready to go. So even if you flick a switch on your transmitter, you set that up inside your switches menu, you can in your modes, you can do that from a switch as well. So that's kind of nice to have just a little bit of beep out in the grass if you lose it. And I think one of the nicest things about this particular one versus the 85X, this would be a huge pro for me because, you know, honestly, with a Cinewhoop, I'd like to have a little bit longer flight time, and I'm happy that I'm getting 4 to 5 minutes out of a 3S 300 milliamp. That's kind of crazy that you can get close to 5 minutes flight time. Normal situation flight time with the 1102 9000 kV motor versus the 1106s that are on the 85X. They just eat up the battery a little more. It does get you up there faster, but you're burning more battery with those other motors. They do have 3 bolts on the bottom. You want to go over these and make sure those are tight before your first flight. Make sure they're nice and snug up there. Don't over tighten these. And you don't really probably have to put Loctite on this particular setup. You can, but you're going to have to put them up inside here. Take a toothpick, dab it in your little pool of Loctite, and put it inside here first. That way you don't run the screw and put Loctite on this plastic, because the Loctite will damage the plastic. But I like the open motor, bottom motor design right here. The coils look decent. The magnets felt okay. And I also like that these are screw-on props instead of the push-on props, because I've had a lot of issues with push-on props lately from manufacturers, making them too tight for the props and kind of pulling the O-ring slightly off. If this falls off, you're gonna have a hard time finding it. And the other problem was that it was pulling the shaft out, and we were getting a lot of play in the motor because of those pull-off push-on props. And this is the better choice for me for an 1102 size motor. So let's go ahead and turn on the scale and let's get a weigh in. We're gonna do a dry weight first. That means without the battery. So we'll just set the Bushido on there. Let's see what we get. Total weight is 51.6 grams. Not bad. We'll go ahead and put this 3S battery on there and see what we get here. 77 on the dot. 77.2. I'll just move my hands away, make sure. That's a pretty awesome weight. That makes it very lightweight to power ratio, so you're going to get a huge punch out with a really nice acceleration from a stop to go, which is a really nice kind of racing feature. And then the Happy Model 300 3S300 milliamp, 76.6 grams versus that URUAV battery. That's 25 grams alone, and this one is 25.6 grams for the stock battery. So yeah, the Happy Model one's just a little bit lighter, and then the 2S450 is 27.8. And let's set the quad on there with the 450 battery, 81.2 grams. Not bad. So that's about it for this review of the UR85 HD version of the Bushido from URUAV. I think it's a capable quad, and I think it's probably a little bit better value than the 85X. If you're looking for something that has like ultra cheap, bang good cheap parts available, this is probably going to be around for quite a while, because URUAV stuff seems to have been built to last, and the parts have been available for the smaller micros that they make for quite some time. Also, they make that killer backpack that I reviewed on the channel a few weeks ago. That was a $35 FPV backpack. That's probably my go-to bag right now out of all my boxes and bags. It has tons of storage, and for micros you could put like 10 micros in that, or you can even hang quads off the outside of it. I like it a lot. But as far as the star rating goes, I think the fun factor on this is an easy 5 out of 5. It was tons of fun to freestyle or do some HD recording with the Caddx turtle. Also, I was able to carry the Firefly V2 on top of this little guy and get that going. So this will actually carry a miniature action cam, even if you wanted to have an extra backup of HD on there. But I don't really know why you'd add all the extra weight on there. It's not necessary when you have the Turtle V2 on there, but I wanted to see if it would actually handle putting that Firefly V2 on there, and it did. The nice thing also is that I'm able to get that strap under there after these two pieces broke on me, the battery tray. It goes right through there, and the little miniature Velcro strap is big enough to fit my 450 fatter size batteries or the skinnier ones, so that's really nice. And I actually kind of prefer this power setup versus the 85X, because I think this is more efficient, and it still has plenty of freestyle and punch out capability on 3S. There's plenty of power. All the power's there if you wanted to do power loops over top of trees and back under, and any type of obstacles that you want to freestyle and get HD footage with. Yeah, 5 out of 5 for the performance and the fun factor. Durability factor might be somewhere around, I would say 4.0. Not a super high durability rating, just because that one piece on the bottom broke off on me, and that you're going to have to put a little dab of hot glue on top of the UFL connector right there. But that's kind of standard out there, because most of those UFL connectors have to be secured some way. You could also maybe run a zip tie around this and bring it up out through the top and zip tie it through here. If you wanted to do it that way, you might get a little bit better signal with it standing straight up than straight back, but I don't really think it matters. Either way you want to do it, this is holding up just fine. So my overall rating for the URAV sort of 85X knockoff, you could call it, I would say it's around a 4.5. So a very standard rating from me, and I'm not going to say it's 5 out of 5, because obviously there's just a few minor issues about it, but issues that I can live with, that I don't have to send this bag to bang goods. So I think they did a pretty good job with this quad, and they made it a little bit better value by including a lot of extras and a battery, because the 85X also does not have, not only does it not have a case, it does not have the battery with it. So they're just a little bit better value on this particular 85mm quad, HD quad. So another one out there, more competition coming all the time. The Cinewhoops are hot, and the Bushido is actually a pretty cool little quad. I like this one, and it's fairly durable. But thanks for watching my reviews, guys. Don't forget to be a Patreon on the channel, because we have the Emax Buzz we're giving away this month, by the end of the month, the first week of June, coming right up, you guys. I'm super excited to give that away to one of my lucky Patreon winners on the channel. But thanks again, guys. I'm Justin Davis. This has been the Bushido. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.